Hari Om. Welcome to all the lovely Balakrishnas and Vivekanandas. I bow down to the Atma Jyoti, the divine light of the self in you. Let us continue our Mahabharata adventures. Recall that Mahabharata is one of the greatest epic written by greatest Rishi, Sri Vedavyasa Maharshi. This one is in a way a dramatized version of what the essence that Bhagavad Gita teaches. In our journey so far in Mahabharata, we have seen how Pandavas were attempted to be killed and how they escaped and how they have married Draupadi. And now they're back to Kuru kingdom. When they're back to the Kuru kingdom, of course, for Duryodhana, he is jealous. He's now angry and upset that his plan to eliminate the Pandavas hasn't really worked. So he's constantly discussing and hatching different ideas with Shakuni, Karna, and all his clan on how to eliminate these Pandavas. So sometimes he says, why don't we go and try to kill these Pandavas? But Karna is a little bit wise. He says, hey Duryodhana, you've been trying to do that since their childhood. Have you succeeded? No, you cannot. They're very powerful. They can vanquish anybody who comes in front of them. And also now, many people know that there was an attempt to kill them. So people are already sympathetic towards them. That's not a good idea. So Duryodhana also says, yeah, correct. Then how about if we poison their mind by maybe say spreading the rumor that Draupadi is in favor of one brother and not necessarily in favor of other brothers. Again Karna says, hey Duryodhana, have you lost your mind? Do you know who Draupadi married? She did not know that they were Pandavas when she married them. She just married the one who was worthy in that competition. And she is not really a lady who can easily be swayed by such rumors. See, most often we read something in the newspaper or hear something in the television, we get swayed by it. We don't necessarily verify whether it is correct, from where the source is, what the facts are. We don't verify. Many a times people can spread fake rumors, especially in today's world, no? In WhatsApp, in Facebook, anybody can fake a video. It's very easy to create a video of somebody else, but put somebody else's photo in it and create so many nonsense. But you have to verify, isn't it? Like that, Karna said, hey, Draupadi is a very wise lady. She cannot be swayed by false rumors. She will not fall for all of that. She will verify. And she is full of love for all the Pandavas. She cannot be swayed like that. Oh yeah, correct. Duryodhana said, yeah, that idea may also not work. What to do? Hey, shall I call them for a war? I'll call an open and honest war. Karna says, yeah, see, if you're a Kshatriya, at least do that. Don't create all these kinds of nonsense ideas. See if, why don't you call for a war? Then Duryodhana goes to his father. His father is blind in the love of his son. He calls the meeting of Bhishma, Krupa, Drona, Vidura, and says, see, this is the idea my son has. He wants to wage war and he wants to win as a noble Kshatriya. Isn't this correct? A Kshatriya can wage war. He's not trying to do any kind of deception. He's trying to call for a war. Then Bhishma stands up and says, Dhritarashtra, have you lost your mind? Who are Pandavas? They are your own brother's children. This kingdom rightfully belongs to both your children and Pandu's children. Instead of you encouraging your son, you should look at how you can reconcile them, how you can share and be together. Vidura also stands up and says, hey, Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra, not only in terms of the right behavior, but also look at it. The Pandavas are not weak anymore. In the form of their in-law, Drupada, they are also very mighty now. A war will unnecessarily call for murder and killing of so many people. All for what? They have not done anything wrong. As a Kshatriya, you may be right in saying that you can wage war. But also remember, what is the correct Raja Dharma? Not to call for war whenever you wish for. Waging war is not for your own reasons. You should wage war only when there is a unrighteous behavior, adharma. So what you are calling for is not correct. Like that, Vidura also says. When all these things are heard, for a moment, little bit of fear comes into Dhritarashtra. He feels, yeah, if my Bhishma and Drona and Vidura, all these wise people are saying, then it must be correct. See, unfortunately, Dhritarashtra hasn't developed his own ways of understanding life and his own viveka, his own intelligence. He has not developed that. So he can be very easily swayed. He is so blind in the love of his son, he can be swayed by arguments of his son. And when somebody wise says something, then for a moment, he sees some meaning in what they are saying. So then he stands up and says, because remember, he is now the king. He says, hey, Duryodhana and Karna, we will not call for a war. We will call the Pandavas and we will divide our kingdom. And he calls Pandavas and he tells the Pandavas, hey Pandavas, I have now given you Indraprastha. But see, even when he was giving like that, he was not being a right king. Indraprastha at that time was kind of like a totally desolated place. Though it was part of the Kuru kingdom, it was a totally desolated place. There was not any kind of good vegetation. The land was infested with lot of animals, big jungles. It used to be at one point of time a great place for Kurus, but they had abandoned that place. So it was now kind of like dilapidated. So even when giving, this Dhritarashtra gave something which is very, very inferior. Remember one thing, when you offer something to anyone, when it is possible, offer the best that you have. That is what the right dharma of life is. When you have something to offer to somebody, it is not the worst thing that you have that you need to offer. You have to always offer the best thing that is possible by you. So Dhritarashtra was not truly being dharmic even when offering, but he was trying to send them away. He wanted to get rid of them. But anyway, Yudhishthira and all the Pandavas, because they were under the counsel of Vidura and Krishna, they decided, even though they're giving us the worst thing, we will do our best to make it the best. You have heard the saying, no? When life throws stones at you,
Harden.
I'm back now. Let me continue. So the saying goes that when life throws stones at you, collect them and make a staircase out of it and climb up. Never get disillusioned by what life is throwing at you. In fact, when life throws stones at you, only the most courageous can stand up and make the best out of it. And that was the spirit of the Pandavas. So Pandavas bow down to their Dodappa. Dhritarashtra is their Dodappa, no? So they bow down, and to all the other elders there, took their blessings and went to Pandavaprastha. And under the guidance of Krishna, they called the best architect, the architect of the Devatas. And they called the architect and they requested him, see, we want to build the best city that would attract all the people. A city that people should be really happy, healthy, and peaceful. Can you please help us build something like that? When that architect listened to their noble intentions, he was so swayed. He was so full of vigor. You see, their intention was not to do something to show that they are great. They wanted a place where all people can be happy, healthy, and peaceful. He said, yes, I will do my best. I will give my 100% for such a cause. And thus they undertook converting Pandavaprastha, and they built a wonderful city. And the city was so glorious that back in those days, when something was glorious, they would call it as, oh, place, it's a place like heaven, Indra's place. And this city that they built was so glorious that people naturally named it as, it is none other than Indra's place only. We should give a name which is nothing inferior to Indra's place. So they said, we will call it Indraprastha. And Indraprastha was so glorious, so wonderful, that even people who were in Hastinapur, they all heard the glory of that place. They felt, one is, if we live in a place, that place should be like Indraprastha. And also, they were so much in love with the Pandavas. They felt, if we live, it must be under the right kind of kings, like the Pandavas. So, en masse, they started migrating to Indraprastha. Slowly, Duryodhana and Shakuni and Dhritarashtra started noticing that their kingdom, Hastinapur, was getting depleted. What is the use of a kingdom without people? See, today's Afghanistan, people want to run away from there. What kind of a place will happen when people are not there? And that too, right kind of people are not there. It becomes a desolate. It becomes like a desert, isn't it? But anyway, that is what happened. People started migrating to Indraprastha. So this is how, my lovely children, Indraprastha was constructed. So I will end our adventure of Mahabharata here. And I will continue from here onwards in our next session. Till then, Hari Om.